up, but Afrojack has been talking shit about you. Anything you want to say? Who? Afrojack? Who? That's what I thought.
Hey, you sucker. What's up, me, you sucker?
Eminem and 50 Cent have behaved like siblings, going beyond simply being mentor and pupil. They have supported one another during feuds, appeared together at award events, and stuck by each other when it counted. Both have a reputation for being brutal in conflict situations. They have challenged opponents like Ja Rule, and even criticized former co-workers like The Game. Neither one avoids conflict, and both appear at ease in the midst of controversy. Eminem and 50 treat disagreements as a part of their culture rather than merely getting involved in them. The Game is one of the most well-known cases associated with them. Realist is a song that Eminem and Easy Mill collaborated on in August 2023. Easy Mill was supposed to be the main attraction, but Eminem's performance took center stage. He rekindled their long-standing quarrel with The Game by directing his incisive poem at him. Eminem was not merely showcasing his skills, rather, he was reiterating his stance and challenging anyone to challenge it. Given that The Game had previously stated that his music was not played in clubs, he made sure his remarks were significant. That assertion was used against him by Eminem. Because he was still performing, he rapped that The Game's tracks were only still heard in clubs. The shot struck a chord, particularly given the background of their problems. The Game's lengthy diss track directed against Eminem, Black Slim Shady, is the source of the hostility. The increasing tension between 50 Cent and The Game was also represented in that album, which made fun of him. This debate has always been about multiple tracks for many people. It has to do with years of conflict and shifting loyalties that began during their time in the G Unit. The story begins when Dr. Dre decides to hire The Game after recognizing his skill. After signing him, Dre transferred him to G Unit, which was then headed by 50 Cent. It wasn't a spontaneous signing. Rather, it was a means of rapidly raising his reputation by tying him to a group that was already successful. This contributed to The Game's nearly immediate credibility. Putting him on the largest stage imaginable was seen by some as a wise move. Others believed that rather than forging his own route, he was relying too much on the 50s momentum. Nevertheless, he was closely associated with the most well-known hip-hop names by joining G Unit. Dre's move proved successful when his debut album, The Documentary, was released. Fans and critics alike embraced the album, which demonstrated The Game's talent and presence. He demonstrated his talent to create catchy songs with the rapid success of songs like How We Do and Hate It or Love It. The project was a huge success on all fronts, solidifying his reputation as a major rap artist and maintaining his tight relationships with Eminem and 50 Cent, but conflict persisted despite progress. Rumors began to circulate as tension between 50 Cent and The Game increased. As tiny fissures appeared in their relationship, it became clear that something was amiss. 50 reportedly refused to sit next to The Game in the car during the Hate It or Love It video filming. That story caused some people to take notice and start discussing how their partnership was failing. Although the specifics were unknown to those outside, it was obvious that the two were no longer on solid footing. That was the first indication of a true separation. Inside G Unit, what had started off as a positive relationship was becoming a significant rift. He became independent as a result of The Game's increasing success, but it also caused him to grow apart from the group that helped put him on. As Eminem stood firmly with 50 Cent, the consequences grew more acerbic. The ensuing feud resulted in interviews, diss tracks, and a years-long sabbatical. Whenever their names are mentioned together, the history of that conflict still comes out.
I think, yeah, that's true. Those rumors are true, and I'm not going to deny them.
So did you date him?
No. Can I just clarify that I did not have a physical relationship with him? I did not have an intimate relationship. I've been with less men than I can, than on one hand. So he's not.
The video was positively received when it first came out, but once 50 Cent did a radio interview, things swiftly changed. He shocked the audience during the program by announcing that The Game was no longer a member of G Unit. The announcement created a stir, and shortly after, The Game arrived at the station in an attempt to address the issue head-on. A scuffle broke out as tension increased, and in the confusion, shots were fired. In the aftermath, both sides attempted to soften the incident, presenting a united front to avoid further fallout. By March 2005, the two appeared together, announcing a truce to move on from the drama. That arrangement didn't last long. The game's departure from G-Unit left him open to criticism, with former associates questioning his trustworthiness and authenticity. Facing the backlash, the game fired back with his lengthy diss track 300 Bars and Runnin'. The record cut deep and reignited the hostility, setting off a wave of lyrical battles. From then on, the feud became one of the most closely watched rivalries in rap, with supporters split between both camps. Each release added fuel to the fire, proving neither side wanted to back down. The exchange kept growing more hostile as time passed. In 2006, the game tried to shift direction by signaling that he wanted reconciliation. He suggested that he was willing to let go of the issues and repair the bond with 50 Cent. However, the effort didn't land. By then, the damage was irreversible, and 50 gave no reaction at all. The tension lingered, and more songs continued to pour out, keeping the rivalry alive. Over time, the catalog of tracks aimed at each other grew larger. Before long, the back and forth ballooned into one of the longest and most crowded feuds, with over 100 songs tied to the dispute. By 2010, the game was still looking for closure. He went on social media asking openly for the feud to end and for the animosity to stop. Even then, 50 Cent stayed unbothered, refusing to respond. Not ready to give up, the game pushed further, launching a petition in 2012 calling for a G-Unit reunion. His idea was that fans could push the movement forward and force a resolution. Still, the crew quickly shut it down, making it clear they weren't interested in revisiting the past. The message was obvious. G-Unit had no plans of letting him back in. When 2014 came, G-Unit hit the stage together again at Summer Jam, but the game wasn't included. The performance underlined his separation from the group, confirming that things would not return to how they once were. For supporters who still hoped for a reunion, this moment served as proof that the rift was permanent. Then, in 2022, the conflict resurfaced unexpectedly when 50 took a shot online. He mocked the game for posing in a photo with Lloyd Banks, stirring fresh questions about intentions and reopening old wounds in public. Later on, the game said that his conflict with 50 was finished and that he no longer held any issues. His attempted closure seemed genuine, but it didn't last long. Soon after, a new dispute emerged, and this time, Eminem became the target. The game released a track titled Black Slim Shady, where his attacks went beyond Eminem himself. He, included jabs at 50 Cent and Dr. Dre, and even involved Eminem's family, showing he wasn't interested in keeping boundaries. The record was designed to get attention and provoke a reaction. Black Slim Shady was a full-on attack. The game used the track to challenge Eminem's legacy, mock his career, and highlight personal matters in a way that couldn't be ignored. It was clear that the record was meant to ignite conflict, pushing Eminem into the spotlight alongside him. Unlike the feud with 50, which had history and personal betrayal behind it, this clash was more about taking aim at Eminem's position in the culture. By going after someone as established as Eminem, the game ensured the spotlight stayed firmly on him.
The reason I wasn't on the Super Bowl is because I'm not a safe artist. So it's just like, he's not safe, so they went with the safe.
When Black Slim Shady dropped, it shook the hip-hop community. Some listeners praised the game for being daring and sharp with his verses, while others were stunned that he would target someone as established as Eminem. There was also a camp that dismissed the song entirely, saying it sounded like a cry for attention more than a real diss. The release sparked heavy debates across the culture, with supporters dividing into sides. Some stood firmly with Eminem, while others applauded the game's bold move. Online platforms were flooded with reactions, arguments, and comparisons. The question then shifted from who won the battle to why the game started it in the first place. A major piece of the puzzle points to the Super Bowl 56 halftime show on February 13, 2022. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and others delivered a historic performance, but the game wasn't included. Given his ties to Dre and his contributions to West Coast rap, being left out seemed to fuel his frustration. Reports suggested the omission weighed on him, and it likely played into his decision to go after Eminem later. The game didn't stay silent about it either. He reposted content questioning why his name wasn't part of that lineup, showing he felt the snub deeply. On the I Am Athlete podcast, the game opened up about how much being excluded hurt him. He admitted that he believed The industry viewed him as too risky to be placed on such a stage. In his mind, his style was too raw, too unpredictable, and too controversial for a polished performance like the Super Bowl. To him, that wasn't just disappointing, it was insulting. It made him feel as if his authenticity and contributions to LA hip-hop were being ignored. In his view, he deserved to stand next to Dre and Snoop that night, and not being there was proof of how he was being sidelined.
Fat. He looked like he got a pack of hot dogs on the back of his neck.
By March 2022, the game had raised the stakes even further on Drink Champs with NORE and DJ EFN. He aimed at both Eminem and Dr. Dre, stirring another wave across hip-hop. During the sit-down, he stirred controversy by claiming Kanye West had supported him more in recent years than Dre ever had. He also took things a step further, insisting he was a better rapper than Eminem. On top of that, he openly challenged Eminem to a versus battle, saying he was ready to prove himself on stage. The remarks instantly sparked pushback online, but he didn't walk anything back. Instead, he posted a video on Instagram doubling down, saying he truly believed in his words. The tension only grew when he suggested a direct rap battle or even a track together as proof of who held the upper hand. That left many wondering if the rivalry between him, Eminem, and even 50 Cent would ever settle, or if it was bound to keep flaring up. But just as that conflict was unfolding, another one was bubbling up, this time involving Eminem, Mariah Carey, and Nick Cannon. At first, Mariah denied any personal connection to Eminem, but on his Relapse album, Eminem released Bagpipes from Baghdad, where he referenced their past while throwing sharp insults at Nick Cannon, who was her husband at the time. His bars left little room for interpretation. He rapped lines questioning Mariah and warning Nick directly, telling him to back off. He followed with more personal digs, pushing the feud into the spotlight. Cannon fired back with a Tumblr post, threatening legal action and calling out Eminem as someone who needed to be confronted. He even wrote that Eminem had just become his full-time job, signaling he was ready to go all in on the battle. Around the same time, Mariah dropped her single Obsessed, complete with a video where she dressed like Eminem, which many saw as a response to his dissies. The back and forth quieted for years, but in 2019, it picked up again when Nick Cannon spoke on T.I.'s Expeditious podcast. He recalled a flight from Africa with Eminem, where Slim Shady played a new diss aimed at Mariah. Cannon said he wrote Eminem a letter afterward, showing respect but also demanding he stop disrespecting his wife. In 2007, Ja accused 50 of copying his style, claiming his sound changed after signing with Shady Records. By 2013, he admitted in an interview that 50 had essentially won their feud. Around the same time, both rappers ended up seated on the same row during a flight, a coincidence Ja even tweeted about. Fans thought peace might be possible, but hopes quickly faded as the shots resumed not long after. That same year, during Hot 97 Summer Jam, 50 mocked Ja Rule again, performing I Smell and reminding the audience the feud wasn't finished. In 2014, Ja Rule released his memoir, Unruly: The Highs and Lows of Becoming a Man, where he accused 50 of cooperating with authorities by allegedly giving information that helped spark a federal probe into Murder Inc. 50 denied it completely. In 2015, even as other rap feuds like Drake versus Meek Mill grabbed headlines, Ja and 50 continued trading insults on Twitter, calling their rivalry deeper and more personal. Then, in 2017, Ja became linked to the failed Fyre Festival, which left fans stranded and furious. 50 mocked him relentlessly on social media, clowning him for the fiasco and using it as another chance to attack. By 2018, things escalated again, online. Ja fired shots on Twitter, and 50 responded with his usual trolling, using memes and jokes that went viral. That same year, 50 Cent pulled a stunt by claiming he purchased 200 front-row tickets to one of Ja's shows in Las Vegas just so the seats would be empty. He even shared edited pictures of himself sitting alone in the rows, turning the rivalry into a public joke. Then, in 2019, Ja called out 50's ties with Tekashi 6999, comparing the two and labeling both as rats. The insult added another layer to the already long list of jabs between them. Eminem's role in the feud mostly came from loyalty to 50. Still, Ja didn't hesitate to take shots at him either. On Loose Change, Ja attacked Eminem's family, mentioning his mother, Kim, and even his daughter, Haley. The disrespect set Eminem off, leading him to fire back with tracks like Haley's Revenge and his own version of Hail Mary featuring 50 and Busta Rhymes. Joe responded with Clap Back, while Eminem hit back with Go to Sleep. By 2004, Eminem made it clear he was done, dropping a track saying his label had already won the fight. For him, the feud wasn't worth the energy anymore. By the mid-2000s, both fans and critics were pointing out that Ja Rule seemed to keep mentioning 50 Cent and Eminem just to remain part of the conversation. At one point, Ja hinted that he might let the feud go, but later he made it clear that would never happen. He doubled down, insisting that he and 50 would always be enemies, making their conflict one of the longest and most bitter feuds in hip-hop history. Hip-hop has always thrived on tension, and in this case, it only grew larger over the years. Around the same time, another feud was brewing, this one involving Eminem and Joe Budden. The roots of that clash stretched back to 2011. That year, Slaughterhouse, a group made up of Joe Budden, Royce da 5'9", Joel Ortiz, and Crooked Y, signed with Shady Records under Eminem. Fans were excited, believing the group would finally gain the recognition their underground buzz deserved. But behind the excitement, problems started to build. Eminem took on the role of executive producer for their major label debut, Welcome to Our House. His influence shifted the project's direction from the gritty style that made Slaughterhouse popular to a more polished sound with commercial hooks. Joe Budden, who built a loyal fanbase through mixtapes and raw lyricism, saw this as a major setback. For him, the shift represented a loss of identity. He believed the group could have thrived on their own without industry compromise. In his mind, Slaughterhouse was better positioned to dominate independently than under Eminem's control. That frustration lingered and eventually spilled over into public comments. Joe Budden started using his platform to voice his dissatisfaction, saying flat out that Slaughterhouse would have been more successful without Eminem's involvement. He criticized the production, calling the beats Eminem provided terrible and completely wrong for their sound. Joe also accused Eminem and manager Paul Rosenberg of mishandling the group and boxing them into a corner that destroyed their momentum. As tension built, the situation remained unspoken until 2018, when Eminem released his album Kamikaze. On it, he aimed shots at several rappers, including Joe Budden. That sparked reactions across the industry, with artists like Machine Gun Kelly, Bizarre from D12, and even Lil Yachty getting caught in the crossfire. But Joe Budden's response stood out the most, taking the conflict to a new level. On his podcast, Joe Budden went in on Eminem with a rant that questioned his character, his management choices, his place in the rap game, and even his lyrical ability. This wasn't just another critique, it was personal. He felt Eminem had failed the group instead of guiding it to greater success. The fallout grew worse when KXNG Crooked, another Slaughterhouse member, spoke on Instagram Live and revealed Joe had long been unhappy with how Eminem handled the group. That gave more context to the bitterness. Things escalated again when Joe criticized Eminem's Revival album, which many believed provoked Eminem's subliminal shots at him on Chloraseptic. Bizarre from D12 came to Eminem's defense, calling Joe out, but Joe didn't back off. Instead, he raised the stakes, going so far as to threaten Bizarre physically. 50 Cent soon entered the mix, throwing gasoline on the fire. On Instagram, 50 trolled Joe Budden, warning him that an ass-whooping was waiting. The feud now had multiple players, pulling Eminem, Joe, and G-Unit's leader into a heated standoff. Around this time, Eminem sat down for a detailed interview with Sway in 2018. The conversation covered the backlash to Revival, the surprise release of Kamikaze, and the ongoing disputes. When asked about Joe Budden, Eminem explained his disappointment. He said that while he had always promoted Slaughterhouse and given them opportunities, Joe used his platform to tear him down. That, for Eminem, felt like a betrayal. He made it clear they were never close friends, but expected at least professional loyalty. During the same interview, Eminem opened up about Slaughterhouse's unfinished Glass House project. According to him, there were enough songs to make an album, but the group couldn't agree on which tracks to finalize. Everyone had different favorites, so it stalled. Eminem assumed they would regroup, record a few more tracks, and complete the project. Instead, nothing came back his way, and the group fell silent. By then, Eminem had already moved on to his own projects. He also addressed criticism over Welcome to Our House, saying fans thought it was too polished. For that reason, he explained, he stepped back, letting the group take the lead so they wouldn't feel boxed in by his vision. Despite that, Joe accused him of holding them back. Eminem expressed frustration with how things unfolded. He said he never cared about profit from Slaughterhouse and doubted he made any money from them at all. What mattered to him was that he believed in the group and invested his time. That honesty showed how much the breakdown hurt him. For Joe, however, the situation symbolized creative control and respect, and he made sure his stance was heard. The fallout between Eminem and Joe Budden remains one of hip-hop's most complicated feuds, blending business, loyalty, and pride. In hip-hop, sometimes you need a mentor, sometimes you need loyalty, and other times you just need one verse that silences every critic. Eminem and 50 Cent managed to balance all three, and that's why their names remain deeply carved into rap history.